I feel good. I feel like we have a lot of momentum, and people realize I've got a plan for Virginia. Actually, I've got 20 specific detailed policy plans that address the challenges we face. And, chief among those is the lack of economic opportunity and a stagnant economy that we've seen here for 6 straight years. Our economic growth rate's been below the national GDP rate. Virginia always used to be above it. We always used to lead, and now we're lagging. And for 5 of those 6 years, our growth's been below 1%. Right now it's 0.6%, and we're 39th out of 50 states. And I know we can do so much better, and so do my fellow Virginians, and that's resonating out there. I think polls have a very hard time gauging what's actually going on in a race. I feel like I know better by standing out in front of the shipyard in Newport News at 5:30 a.m. and talking to workers on their way in. And when I do that, the response I get there tells me I'm going to win this race. And so to me, it's out there shaking hands, talking to voters. You get a real feel for what's going on. And polls are notoriously wrong in Virginia. They have been for some time. And I think the real sense of where a race is the sense you get when you're a candidate who's campaigning hard every day. I think it's economic anxiety and the fact that too many Virginians feel like we don't have the opportunities we need. We've had 3 straight years where more people have moved out of Virginia than into Virginia. And last year, 51% of those took a 4-year college degree with them. And too many of our young adults graduating from our high schools and colleges and universities are not able to put their skills to work here in the Commonwealth of Virginia and are moving to states with more dynamic economies like the Carolinas or Tennessee, Texas, Florida. And we need to reverse that. We've got to turn that around. We've got to get our economic growth rate up, and my policies will do that. I think the fact that I have a plan and a number of plans and serious, substantive, detailed policies that I know will make life better for all Virginians, and I have a sense of urgency about the need to get that plan implemented. And, my opponent's a good guy, but he feels like everything's going great here, and that's not the case. As I travel the Commonwealth, I know people realize we've got to create jobs and raise take-home pay and help people lift themselves out of poverty, improve our public schools, address our traffic problems and the opioid and heroin epidemic. And I've got plans for all these things, and my opponent just doesn't. I think if to the extent you can trust polls, if you look at them, our party's unified behind me. His party's unified behind him, and that's the nature of the electorate. As you get closer to election day, people tend to come home. The fact is, I enjoy a lot of support in our party, and I'm proud of that. But more important to me is the support I get from independents and open-minded Democrats, and that's important to me as well. Well, I think that time was good in terms of leading a big organization, which is good for an executive to have as experience as governor, as well as other experiences that I've had that I think will help me be an effective governor for us, including serving by a president of the United States in the Oval Office and seeing how that decision-making process works. But I do understand, the various factions inside the party. Both parties have factions, and being able to unify them is important to winning in November. I appreciate the president supporting me, and not surprised that the Republican president's, endorsing the Republican nominee for governor in Virginia. Just like I'm not surprised that Hillary Clinton, the Democratic nominee for president, had an event for Ralph Northam and is supporting him. And that's the nature of politics. I think it would be news if he weren't. I'm responding to what voters talk to me about, and what voters talk to me about are jobs and economic opportunity, roads, schools, opioid and heroin, and people want to know, what are you going to do to make our lives better if you're elected governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia? And those are the issues that I hear about every single day on the trail, and I'm on the trail every single day. And so I'm responding to what voters are looking for and what they care most about, and what they care most about is our quality of life here in Virginia. I would say my experience, I think, has been helpful to us. I've helped elect a lot of Republicans. Now I'm trying to elect myself. And it's different, when you're working for someone else and advising them or, being a spokesman for them than when you're putting forward your own policies in your own name. And I think when people look at the policies I've put forward, they are based on conservative principles. There are some that are not consistent with my party's history in terms of criminal justice reform and some other things. But that's because I'm taking the time to look at the issues and craft my own policies that I'm running on as Ed Gillespie. If I'm governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, this is what I'm going to do. It's hard to say, there's obviously social media plays a very important role, and I think we see that every day in this election. But I'm so busy being a candidate and putting forward my policies and running, I don't have time in a lot of ways to stop and do that kind of political analysis. The truth is, most Virginians today were not born in Virginia, and I love the Commonwealth. That's why I'm seeking to serve here. Kathy and I raised our children in Virginia. Been here for over 25 years, and I love Virginia. It's in my heart, and if you look at my logo, with the Ed, with Virginia inside the E and the D, I always say, Virginia's inside me, and that's how I feel, and I'd love to be able to lead the Commonwealth I love. I was effective in business. I started 3 small businesses. I did work on behalf of the clients at the firms at which I worked. And I'll be effective for the people of Virginia. I know how to get things done. I think you bring a fresh perspective. And I think the experience I've had in the private sector, on Capitol Hill, in the executive branch, at the White House, at the party, both the national party and the state party, all those things I think help inform me, and those experiences will help make me an effective governor for the people I seek to serve. Sure. I've worked on a lot of presidential campaigns, and Governor Romney was one. I wish he'd won. But again, I think the experience I've had in the private sector, as well as on Capitol Hill and in the White House, has helped me be prepared to be our next governor. I think we're going to win this race, but I think people realize these public polls are not worth very much. And a lot of these public polls, I don't think they're designed to measure the outcome of a race. They're designed to affect the outcome of a race. I think Virginians increasingly are aware of that, and they know, it's kind of cliche, but it's true. The only poll that matters is the one on election day. And I sense incredible intensity and energy and enthusiasm amongst my voters and supporters. And I truly believe we're going to win this race. Time, and just I wish there was more than 24 hours in a day sometimes.